Welcome to this explainer. The sheer volume of water and nutrients a towering oak tree moves in a single day is absolutely staggering. And get this, it pulls off this massive logistical feat without a central pump, no heart. Today, we're diving straight into that internal plumbing. It's basically a bustling, two-way transport highway system that easily rivals the complexity of modern municipal infrastructure.
Okay, let's look at the roadmap for how we're going to decode this biological plumbing system step by step. First, we'll look at the plant's transport highways. Second, we're mapping out the vascular bundles. And third, we'll dig into the microscopic engineering of the xylem.
Right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the plant's transport highways.
So here's the core biological problem. Plants need to move water up from the soil, and they need to distribute food down from the leaves, right? To do this, photosynthetic plants rely on two highly specialized, distinct systems. On one side, we have the xylem vessels. Their main gig is hauling water and mineral ions straight up through the roots, into the stem, and all the way to the leaves. And because their walls are exceptionally strong, they actually do double duty by providing vital structural support for the whole plant. On the flip side, we have the phloem vessels. These are often called sieve tubes. They take the dissolved substances created by photosynthesis, stuff like sucrose and amino acids, and distribute them away from the leaves to the non-photosynthesizing parts, like fruits, buds, and roots. To make this happen smoothly, the cells of the phloem actually have special perforations in their end walls. It literally acts like a sieve, allowing these crucial dissolved substances to pass seamlessly from one cell to the next.
Moving right along to Section 2, mapping the vascular bundles.
Now, these specialized vessels, they don't just float around randomly inside the plant. They actually travel together in tightly packed units called vascular bundles. But here's the fascinating part. Their specific arrangement changes completely depending on where you look. Let's start our upward journey at the bottom, down in the roots. Down here, the vascular bundle sits dead in the center. The very middle part is made up of xylem vessels, totally primed to pull water up from the soil. And surrounding that central core of xylem, those are the sieve tubes of the phloem, delivering the necessary food down to the root tissues so they can keep growing and searching for more water. Now, let's pan the mental camera upward into the stem. Here, you'll notice a really dramatic shift in the architecture. That single central bundle from the roots separates out into a distinct ring-like structure. And there's a strict organizational rule in this ring. The phloem is always positioned on the outside of the bundles, while the xylem is always located on the inside. This neat ring arrangement creates some very distinct anatomical zones within the stem. The space between the ring of vascular bundles and the outer layer, the epidermis, well, that's called the cortex. And that central tissue completely enclosed by the ring, that's known as the pith. Now, the outer cortex and the central pith aren't just empty space. No way. They are essential tissues used for storage and for maintaining the stem's overall structural integrity. Continuing our upward journey, we finally reach the leaves, the main factories for photosynthesis. Up here, those bundles branch out intricately through the thick midrib running right down the center of the leaf, and they fan out into a super complex network of veins. Through these precise little pathways, the xylem brings necessary water and minerals right to the active cells, while the phloem sieve tubes stand by ready to carry away those freshly produced sugars and amino acids. If we zoom in and look really closely at exactly how the vessels are stacked inside these leaf veins, you'll see the xylem is always found at the top, oriented toward the upper surface of the leaf. Consequently, the phloem sits right at the bottom. And this brilliantly illustrates that dual-purpose nature of the xylem we talked about earlier. You see, by positioning these strong, rigid xylem vessels within the network of veins across the leaf, the plant essentially builds itself an internal skeleton. This framework physically supports the much softer tissues of the surrounding leaf blade, keeping it nice and flat and fully exposed to the sun. So we know where these highways are and what they do, but it really begs the question, how exactly is the xylem built for this incredibly heavy lifting? How on earth does it manage to haul water vertically against gravity, all while holding the entire plant upright? Let's find out in Section 3, Microscopic Engineering of Xylem. To really answer that question, we have to look at how the xylem is actually formed, because honestly, it's a masterpiece of biological engineering. A xylem vessel isn't just a standard run-of-the-mill cell. It's made up of a series of exceptionally long, hollow cells. And here is the crucial point. To maximize fluid dynamics, the plant literally strips away everything unnecessary. I mean it. These cells contain absolutely zero cytoplasm and no organelles whatsoever.
Plus, they don't even have end walls separating one cell from the next. By stripping away all those internal parts and removing the barriers between cells, the plant creates a perfect, uninterrupted, continuous hollow tube. This allows water and mineral ions to just shoot straight upward without any cellular debris or physical walls getting in the way.
But, as you can imagine, a hollow tube just isn't enough on its own. It needs to be watertight and incredibly resilient so it doesn't just collapse under the negative pressure of all that moving water. Enter a tough polymer called lignin. Lignin radically thickens the walls of the xylem vessels. Think about that for a second. It's genuinely remarkable that a biological organism secretes its own waterproof reinforcement polymer just to survive high-pressure fluid dynamics. This vital layer of lignin is what makes the vessels intensely strong and entirely impermeable. It's basically high-grade waterproof plumbing.
And there's more. Beyond just the main transport tubes, the xylem contains something else to reinforce the plant's overall architecture. It's packed with long, lignified cells specifically known as fibers. If those hollow xylem vessels are the plumbing pipes, well, you can think of these lignified fibers as biological rebar. They weave right through the vascular bundles, providing critical additional structural support that lets the plant grow taller and weather harsh winds without simply snapping in half. And get this entire, flawless transport network operates completely passively, which leaves us with a pretty wild final thought to ponder. Given that a plant relies entirely on this microscopic, perfectly engineered plumbing system, how long do you think it could actually survive if those tubes were suddenly blocked? It really makes you look at a tree differently, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering and keep learning.